Noah Centineo, the man, the myth, the legend. This young, fascinating actor came out of nowhere in 2017, starring as romantic lead Peter Kavinsky in Netflix's To All the Boys I've Loved Before and becoming a superstar overnight. And from there, he's been pretty much inescapable on Netflix. It seems like a new star vehicle for him comes out every week. These movies fascinate me. They've become a genre of their own, and I find myself getting more and more excited for the future of Noah's career with every terrible rom-com he blandly mumbles his way through. Because Noah is more than a teen star. He's more than his barely legible tweets. He's more than a lifetime of cringy behavior.
So, you're gonna show me how you squirt or what?
He's a modern icon, an actor who barely needs to try to find enormous success, and if that's not inspirational, I don't know what is. But being a connoisseur of trash, as I am, I sometimes forget that some people aren't as lucky and don't know of Noah's mysterious ways, like my roommate Brandon. So Brandon, what can you tell me about Noah Centineo? What do you know about this mythical figure?
He does a lot of Netflix originals.
Yes.
He is bait for teenage girls.
Yes.
And
I consider it a personal duty of mine, nay, a privilege, to influence minds and bring knowledge to the uneducated. So, Brandon and I sat down to marathon the 6 most prominent Noah Centineo films available on Netflix to study not only his filmography, but his journey and his impact on culture. We decided to watch these films in release order, not only because it would give us a more accurate picture of Noah's artistic evolution over time, but also because, who cares? So without further ado, I present the Noah Centineo Marathon. We began with the film SPF 18, which both of us knew absolutely nothing about besides the fact that it starred Noah Centineo, and really, what other excuse does one need to watch a movie? Happy Noah Day. If you had to describe the plot of SPF 18...
like to a person?
Like to a real human
to a real
being.
person?
Yeah.
4 teens.
5 teens.
5 teens? 5 teens.
There are 4 main teens and 1 side teen.
Okay. And
I
so,
think he was a teenager.
Yeah, one guy was clearly 30.
Yeah,
Like,
one guy
he was old.
He could have been any age.
So they're watching Keanu Reeves' Beach House.
Yeah.
I don't know what his relation to Keanu Reeves was. It was never stated.
No, Keanu Reeves asks Noah Centineo to house sit for the summer.
Johnny, mi casa es su casa. Make this the best summer of your life, Keanu.
It feels like it took place over a weekend. Maybe.
It feels like it was shot over a weekend.
There was 2 shots of them waking up the whole movie. So I felt like it was a weekend.
So as an intro to Noah Centineo, how did this work for you? What do you think about him now?
It's hard to pin down because nobody had any personality. Nobody had any acting skills. Holy that was the worst part.
Yeah, this was a bit of a slog to sit through from an acting perspective. I mean, I'm no expert. I'm not an actor, but...
I just felt like the thinking there had become too linear, you know? Camilla, where do you see yourself after graduation?
I don't know, that sounds like a pretty reasonable question.
No character in this movie portrays emotion properly, and they don't face any conflict that would cause them to portray the emotions you expect from a generic teen rom-com like this, because the basic structure of the story is a character will explain a conflict to another character. They won't, like, visually let it play out or anything, and then the next time that problem is brought up, it is resolved immediately. It seems like it's going to be this kind of, like, awkward coming-of-age story with this main girl who records everything, and she wants to lose her virginity to her boyfriend, Noah Centineo.
And I thought, okay, it's going to be like
That's
a
the
coming
plot.
of age
Yeah.
teen sex comedy.
You
whatever.
assume that's the plot.
Yeah.
And her cousin comes to visit, and she brings her cousin with her to the beach house, to Keanu Reeves' beach house where they're all staying, and they're
then-
like, we're going to have sex for the first time, it's going to be lovely.
10 minutes later,
They
bang.
Yeah, it's over. Whenever you think the plot is about to start, it gets resolved, and then another plot begins.
The dialogue was clearly written by boomers. Or at least Gen X.
I
Nobody under the age of 35 wrote this dialogue.
I can't think of a single sentence in this movie that I would hear a real person say. My favorite line, personally, was, "Your dad taught me that surfing is a lot like making love."
The whole one with the wave thing is waste of time. You have to impose yourself on them. That's what my dad taught me.
Your dad taught me that surfing's like making love.
Which is...
Which sounds like grooming to me.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like grooming.
That sounds like...
So Noah Centineo's tragic backstory is his dad died in a surfing accident because this guy used steroids when he was surfing, and that brought shame into the community.
So to win back the community's respect, he goes surfing again
and
dies.
dies somehow. They
Professional
don't really...
surfer, surfing coach, dies surfing.
Yeah, just on the beach. I think the most agonizing part of this movie, in the end, like ultimately, is that the point of it is to say, isn't California awesome? And those movies they're so draining because there's a bunch of them, like these straight to DVD feeling just pieces of garbage. It's just like, man, Malibu is wonderful and California is the best place in the world and it's where you find yourself. And it's just, shut up.
Who is this movie for?
This was, I don't know, like this was someone's passion project, I'm guessing, but nothing happens in this movie. In an hour and 15 minutes, nothing happens. And then Molly Ringwald's there. I gotta say, on a Noah Centineo film level, because this was the only one I hadn't seen, this is not prime Noah. Like, Noah still has a lot of development to do as an actor. He needs slightly better writing, and he eventually gets it. Like, none of it's good. So I would say this is more of a proto-Noah. This is a miscast Noah Centineo. He doesn't fit this role at all, because no actors fit these characters. A big part of the movie is the fourth teen, the other guy. He's like a country singer, and he drives to Malibu from Tennessee and camps on the beach, and then they all become friends. And then the romantic entanglements in this movie are insane to me. So the main girl is dating Noah, and they break up with, again, no consequences. They just break up, and they're like, we're gonna be friends. But their breakup isn't even built up to it all. They sleep together once. He gets kind of distant because he's thinking about his dead surfer dad, and then they break up, and then everyone ends up with other people. Like, she immediately goes to the country singer, and he immediately goes to her cousin. And then there's the lifeguard guy, he's just kind of there, and he's like, hey, you know what, I'm everyone's friend. Like, the whole movie is just characters stating exactly where they're going to be for the remainder of the movie. And then there's no subtext to anything. It is just characters explaining the movie to each other. Yeah, how many Noahs would you give this out of 5?
I would give it 1 Noah.
I would also give it 1 Noah, because Noah isn't even carrying this, and it's a terrible
Nobody's
movie,
carrying
and
this.
it's the worst thing I've ever seen.
It dies on arrival.
Well, that was SPF 18. How do you feel about the beginning of this journey? Are you excited?
Not a strong start.
Not a strong
start.
Well, now we're going to go to the most important film ever made. And important it certainly is. So we moved on to Noah's big break, the smash hit To All the Boys I've Loved Before, or, as real fans know it, very boring. I would like to propose a toast before we begin. Here's to all the boys I've loved before. So this is it. This is the blockbuster. This is the one that made Noah what he is now. Like, overnight, he became a sensation from this. So, what are your thoughts?
It's a movie, I guess.
You're not wrong.
It's a film.
Yeah. So the basic story is this girl named Laura Jean. She has had a series of crushes on a series of boys. And she wrote letters to all these boys. And the letters get out. And it's wacky. And then this one guy named Peter Kavinsky, played by Noah Centineo, says, well, you have an antagonistic relationship with my now ex-girlfriend. Let's pretend to date so that I can get her back. But then, of course, he slowly falls in love with her over the course of the movie because 900 movies like this have been made already, and you know pretty much beat for beat exactly where it's going.
Come on, you really know how to zap the fun out of a situation.
It's like full of cliches too. Like they both have absent parents.
Yeah, and they can connect over that. Like I would say the greatest flaw with this movie, besides just generally being boring, is that it doesn't really bring anything new to the table in terms of the teen rom-com genre. Like everything's kind of been done before. Even though it has a pretty distinct visual style and like it looks very nice, I think it's so flat. Like the moments they're going for, especially that first comedy moment at the beginning when she's reading the romance novel and her sister shows up. It's such a flat, bland way to deliver that moment, and you can see what moment they're going for.
Noah's performance was
better, right?
Better.
It was
better
better
than SPK.
This is what I'm saying.
Clearly better.
This is prime Noah. All right.
You angered him. You angered the gods. He heard you.
Like this is the Noah Centineo that he should always be, because I think I pointed this out as we were watching it. What he's doing is he thinks he's playing like the charming cool guy, but what he's really playing is the unfunny boy.
Well, you know, you might be the James Dean of this kind of stuff, but I've never had a boyfriend before.
You have the references of an 80-year-old woman.
It's a very specific, unintentional kind of performance that I find fascinating.
It's like if you're watching someone act and they're supposed to be just, a normal guy, relatable guy, and they had a huge bullet wound right in their forehead. The whole time, like, are they gonna address that?
Yeah, something's just off about it. It's not quite what it should be. Yeah. Do you think this movie was worthy of being like? Because this was an enormous hit. Like everyone watched this. Do you think this movie is really worthy of that? Because I'll be honest, I don't. It's not for me. Like I am not the demographic of this. But even for that, like I don't get this.
I think
at
for
all.
the target audience, I can see it.
It's just because it's so boring. It's so flat. It's a movie full of moments and characters and a story that's like almost something, and then it's just kind of fine the whole time.
It started out well. I thought it started out really well. I'm like, okay, this is gonna it's an interesting concept. But then it just kind of once they did the little fake relationship, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you did say it out loud immediately once they said like, oh, what if we pretend to date? You're like, oh, it's this?
Yeah, yeah. I've seen this before.
Yeah, it's exactly like when we were watching the hit film After, and they do the whole like, oh yeah, I was doing as a bet. There is a feeling when you see a twist like that or a moment like that where it's like, we're still doing this? Like,
it's not a new thing.
No,
it hasn't been. If no one had done this for 20 years,
maybe,
but like it's been done over and over and over.
Yeah.
I feel like Noah's character wasn't fleshed out enough.
Well, yeah, like he's just a guy. He's just like a cool guy.
They try like, oh, he's not as confident as he appears. Like, we'll show that.
We'll prove that. Yeah.
Show me. Don't just tell me that.
He seems to only be confident.
I dare say he's very confident.
I would give this a solid 4 out of 5 Noahs. I think this is Noah at the height of his powers. He is playing the exact character he was born to play, and every second he's on screen is electric.
I'm gonna go with 3.
3 Noahs.
I think. I feel like if he had more room to work, I feel like he didn't have a lot of room to work.
Yeah. Well, we haven't seen him in like a starring role yet. Like that's coming later with like the perfect date and stuff. So this when he's still like the supporting romantic lead, he's great as that. But I feel like when he becomes the main character, it's a completely different Noah, and you'll see that.
And also, him and the guy who played
Josh, yeah.
They look so similar.
They look very similar.
That was such a bad idea.
Yeah, the casting could have found someone
way too similar.
A little different.
Bleach somebody's hair. I don't know what you gotta do, but he looks. I was such. I'm like, who's that again? Like at the beginning, to be like a good 20
minutes. Make that
minutes.
guy wear a hat more. Make one of them wear a hat
or like something. I don't know.
Remember that scene at the beginning where it's a flashback and she has pigtails and she's drinking in Arizona and he's wearing a ball cap and they're clearly supposed to be in like grade 6.
And they're like 16.
23.
Like, they're clearly like not.
I can spin it again.
Well, you can't cheat the bottle.
So overall, I would say very generic, but watchable.
Watchable, yeah. Like I wouldn't like recommend it,
but it's
I would be like, oh, it's terrible. Don't watch it. Like,
if you have to watch it, you will not have a horrible time.
Yeah.
Plus, prime Noah. After a film that summoned such lukewarm praise, we needed a spark of energy, something exciting, something new, something not quite of this earth. The only answer was Swiped. If you had to choose an emotion to like say how you feel, what would you go with?
Is the word hopeless too much?
No.
So swiped.
I'm so glad I managed to share this movie with you.
Swiped.
Yes. What's the story?
On a college campus, Noah Centineo and his friends, his crew, Jake Paul, a child, and a robot boy, decide they want to make an app for hookups.
Yeah.
But Robot Boy, he likes girls who read. In this movie, if you were a woman, you have two choices.
Yeah.
You may have sex or you may read. Those are your two, you can't do both. Here, let me sense it. You're at a bar, and Swipe walks in. You're like, hey. They're wearing like a big, weird, like flowery shirt. Like, okay, well, weird, but they start talking. You're like, all right, it's a normal guy. It's a weird guy, whatever.
Yeah.
Then you go home with Swipe. They open the door, and their house is just full of spiders. And you think, what? What's happening? What? And then they're like, hey, do you want to try some acid? And for some reason, you say yes. And then you wake up the next morning, and suddenly it's the next month. That is what Swiped is.
Do you really want to pay for a movie? No! Or flowers? No!
I'm gonna say the C word. I know we don't like to say it, all right? Here we go. Commitment.
I would say Swiped is the template you should follow to not write a screenplay and also to not make a movie, because Swiped has some of the worst lighting I've ever seen in my life, and I'm not even a nerd for that. I know nothing about lighting.
I knew nothing about film, but I knew something was up. And I could see that their noses were like shining. And
yeah, like, everything's overexposed. They need to put some diffusers on. I have seen, in my film classes, I have seen projects where you are learning how to use lights for the first time, where the footage looks better than the footage looks in this final movie. Because you think it's going to be a typical college guy has to get the nerdy girl who doesn't open up, and he doesn't open up, and he learns. But by the time he gets the girlfriend at the end, he doesn't really learn anything that involves development of the characters happens off screen and is just talked about later. Like, you never see any of the moments they're talking about. So the movie feels so fast and so slow at the same time.
It was written by boomers.
Oh, yeah, no.
And it showed.
This is written and directed by a woman named Anne Deborah Fishman, who, fun fact, really doesn't like it when people make fun of this movie. We may get a comment from her. She likes sending out cease and desists and whatnot.
I'd like to talk to Deborah personally right now. I'd like to address her personally.
Oh, would you?
I've been to university for 4 years, and this is the least accurate depiction of human beings I've ever seen put to film. All these kids be on their damn phones.
The real motto of the movie is, if only kids didn't use their phones for 5 seconds, they might find the loves of their life.
Yeah, did you know dates don't happen anymore?
Dates just don't happen.
They don't happen.
See,
once you turn into a teenager, the concept of dates is lost.
This is written by someone so far removed from how dating apps and honestly dating in the modern world works, and has heard a few stories about it and assumes it's this terrible... Everything in this movie is like it came from another dimension. It's not quite right.
At one point, Noah Centineo says, I just want an app where the girl is airlifted out of my bed as soon as I'm done.
What features do you think we need? You know, it would have a girl airlifted out of my bed the second I'm finished with her.
Ooh. Like, you have to assume this was made with good intentions of being like...
I don't think it was.
I
refuse to accept that. That's too easy.
No.
You're letting her off too easy. No, it wasn't.
No, what I'm saying is, the intention of this movie was probably to be like, kids, you know, you still need to find those real human connections. That is, I think, on a grand scale, the message it was going for. The problem is, it's horribly made and horribly written. You get none of that. None of those intentions shine through, and it's just these weird, out-of-date morals and a clearly very out-of-touch perspective leading you through this nonsense. I have a soft spot in my heart for movies about technology where they clearly don't know how the technology works at all. And the way this movie portrays dating apps is so great, to the point where in the climax, when he disables his dating app, He's like, oh, I guess I'll use some of the other ones. And then he goes on, types in one line of code, and all the other dating apps are disabled. I'm pretty sure you could get charged for that. You can't just disable all dating apps in one fell swoop.
Hey, did any of our guys take down all the hookup apps by chance? My plans for the night totally ruined.
That would be some serious disruption.
So the message of the movie seems to be...
Phone bad.
Phone bad, talk good. Book good, but love also good. Would you say that's the in-depth emotional message of this film?
That's the best you're going to get.
Yeah, it's truly, like... We haven't even talked about Noah yet.
He's not in it that much.
Yeah, Noah Centineo,
big part.
I would say underused in this. Because when you meet Lance, you're like, oh, here's our antagonist. Here's our opposing force.
I didn't even think he was going to be the antagonist.
I
thought he was going to learn something, but he doesn't really learn
No, he
anything.
learns something because he wants to hook up the whole time, and then right at the end, he realizes, I want to date this one girl, because he has no other option. That's called character growth.
He had to be taught the concept of dating. He had to be taught, at the age of 18, he had to be taught the concept. Also, this college is a ghost town.
Yeah, no,
they had no extras.
There are 20 extras, and you see them over and over and over again. And once you start picking out their faces in the crowds, it makes the movie so much funnier.
Small college courses.
Everyone's in the computer science course.
Everyone's a computer science major. Apparently.
Everyone loves computer science.
And the scene where he's giving all the old people the questionnaire.
Yeah, that scene goes on forever.
It goes on forever.
There are just scenes in this movie start and refuse to end. It's honestly shocking. Seeing that SPF 18, for example, was like an hour 15, it's like, oh, this is gonna be a breeze. For an hour and a half, this movie feels like it's 3 hours long. The Irishman feels shorter than this.
Out of 5 Noahs, I gotta give it a... I struggle to give it a 1.
I see Noah Centineo as like a shining force in this movie. The best thing about Noah Centineo is that his character is supposed to be cool and charming, and he seems so horrendously insecure. So yeah, I would say final thoughts on Swiped. This remains one of my favorite bad movies of all time, but every time I show it to someone else, they seem so tired and drained at the end of it.
I couldn't watch it again. I couldn't do it.
There were points where you were getting actually mad.
I was actually mad.
Where you were snapping at the TV.
There was one line where he's explaining the new app to the girls. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
He's gonna explain the app.
It's the last 5 minutes.
It's fucking this Rachel has the nerve. Like, oh, the hookup apps are back online.
And it's this...
I was like, shut the up. We are at the last 15. Let's go.
Every conversation is filled with just 19, 20-second digressions that make things
everyone had to have a line.
Out. Yeah.
That's what it was. Everyone had to have a line. They just wanted a line. At the point where, oh, the girl he likes is going to learn that he developed the app.
Yeah.
And like, okay, and then I paused and I'm like, you have 9 minutes to do this. This should have happened 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. She walks into the room and she says, you developed the app? And he's like, yeah, I did. And then one random extra in the back goes,
nameless.
You know what? Name. He has been helping us. And they all go, yeah, you're right. And that's the end. That's the resolution.
And she goes, she's still upset for a bit. She's like, but oh, that app's disgusting. He's like, yeah, but I did it for love. And it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's suddenly fine.
Because he wanted to date and not just have sex. Because he's not a modern, disgusting teenage boy.
He's a weird... Jane Austen boy.
Yeah, he likes Jane Austen.
Have you read her work?
I love Jane Austen, yeah.
So you know he's not a creep.
That's the standard. I hate Jane Austen. I'd slap women.
Yeah.
I'd slap women. I hate Jane Austen.
I hate Jane Austen, and all I do is beat women. Hey.
I hate Jane Austen.
I hate it here.
Honestly, we're only 3 for 5 right now.
6. We're halfway through.
Whoa. Oh. This is the halfway mark.
So would you recommend Swiped?
Hang on. No.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend it for, like, viewing. But, you know, if you're into stuff, you know, you like a little pain. I'm not judging. But, you know, maybe throw on Swiped in the bedroom, you know? Spice things up. For BDSM purposes, I absolutely recommend Swiped. For entertainment, no.
I agree. This movie takes a little piece of my soul every time I watch it, like a cinematic dementor. Anyway, then we watched Sierra Burgess is a Loser.
What was the plot? What was the plot, Ross? What was the plot? Tell us all.
The plot of
Yeah, it's not great.
Sierra Burgess is a Loser is the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. This was, I thought I had seen this one already. I realized I'd just seen clips of it around. Yeah, this is the worst of these by far. By a mile. This is the worst one. Because, you know...
Centineo is barely in it.
That definitely contributes. The thing about this movie, in comparison to the other Noah films, is that incompetence is a big thing about these movies, about what makes them fun. Whether it's production or writing or acting, anything like that. This movie is so bare minimum competent on every level, and it is so boring the whole way through. So the plot of Sierra Burgess is a Loser is Sierra Burgess is a loser. And then a mean girl at school gives her number to a random guy who asks her out in a bar, cafe thing, whatever. And then they start texting, and she starts pretending to be this girl to like this guy like her because she has bad self-esteem. And then she gets the girl on board to help her by tutoring her. And it's the whole thing, as with all these movies where everything's built on a lie or a bet or whatever, it's always, you're just waiting until that moment where the grand revelation comes and it's, oh, and now they all go their own ways. In this, there's no even, like, interesting build-up to it, because you just don't buy for a second that this plan would actually work out, because social media exists.
Yeah, he never asked for her Instagram or her Snapchat
anything.
Just her phone number.
These mediums are, like, crucial to conversation now, especially among teenagers.
They Skype.
Yeah, they Skype.
like you would Skype with someone before you add them on Instagram. It's insane.
It's insane. In the process of keeping this whole illusion alive, Sierra later pretends to be deaf in front of this guy who has a deaf brother. And that's the point where you start to realize that Sierra Burgess is just an asshole. Like, she's just a completely unredeemable, unlikable character who brings nothing to the table. Every time a character describes her, especially at the end when he's like, you're my type because you're smart and funny and sensitive and all this, it's like, at no point is this displayed in the rest of the movie. Sierra Burgess is simply nice to people to get what she wants and starts freaking out and screaming when she doesn't.
Sierra, that was just wrong. I don't even know who you are anymore.
The secondary main character, Veronica,
yeah,
popular girl, is just way more likable.
A far more interesting
character.
Relatable,
yeah. Like
she has something going on at home.
You genuinely feel for her.
She's the only character who has an arc. She's the only character who changes at all and whose worldview, from the first time you meet her to the last time you see her, seems to have changed at all. Yeah, meanwhile, Sierra Burgess just has everything handed to her. There's no effort or imagination put into anything. It's like they tried to find the quickest possible way to make a movie like this. I have a theory that all of these Netflix teen rom-coms are scams. I don't know how the money gets worked around, but I have a feeling it's all a scam. Because they're all bad, and they're all bad in very different ways, but all of them feel especially lazy lately, and Sierra Burgess is a Loser is very much in that vein, where its biggest problem is it feels like nobody really cared about making this movie. They just had to meet a quota for the monthly releases or something. Honestly, that last scene where Noah came to pick her up in the car, I was like, oh, this is where they're going to have a conversation and be like, yeah, you know what, maybe I wasn't right for you and I'm sorry, but we can start fresh. But no, he lists off how she's a great person and kisses her, which is in no way reinforced by the movie, as we've said. So it feels very disingenuous, and then they all go to the dance, and they're all happy together and friends, and then it freeze frames, and you get the John Hughes, Sierra went on to go to Stanford, and this guy did this, and whatever, and just like, they couldn't even do that in a nice way, where it just seemed like off somehow. This whole movie is just, man. I swear not every movie is like this. Noah Centineo movies are supposed to be fun. This isn't fun.
That was not fun.
Especially
fun is the last word I would use to describe anything that happened in that movie.
Especially because, honestly, Noah is horrendously miscast as his character.
Oh, it doesn't even make any sense.
He's playing like a sensitive nerd.
No, he's a jock. He plays football.
Well, yeah, but his real self is like a sensitive nerd. But he is also a jock.
Neither of those things.
No, he doesn't play either side of this character spectrum well.
We look at them from down here and they look so beautiful and shiny. They're actually just made up of hydrogen.
He just kind of, he doesn't really even seem to know what he's doing for the most part. Like, he doesn't really know how to play this kind of character well.
The weirdest thing is, they never even really show him being a nerd or being a jock or being anything. You don't know what he's...
Yeah, scene by scene, Noah just does what he needs to do to make the fake relationship make sense. He's just kind of... He's very malleable as a character. And Sierra Burgess is just a prick. And I don't like watching her, and I don't want her to succeed. The whole time I was just thinking, I don't want Sierra Burgess to get what she wants. I want her to have to learn and grow as a character, but she never does. She just yells, and then everything's fine. In a weird way, my glowing positive thought about this movie is these actors deserve better. Like, Shannon Purser deserves better. Noah Centineo, I don't know if he deserves better, but he can do better. And, what's her name? Christine Froseth? However you pronounce her last name. She deserves better. She did a pretty good job with what she was given. But yeah, I would give this a solid 0 out of 5 Noahs, because just nothing going for it, not even Noah.
0. You can't give it a 1. It's
1 is too generous by any metric. I would rather die than watch this movie again. Truly,
I can't imagine someone saying, "Hey, let's watch Sierra Burgess as a loser."
Out of morbid curiosity, maybe, but if I ever hear one of my friends or loved ones say that, I'll just kill them for mercy. If this was clearly shot on like a DSLR or something, it may have had something going for it. If the audio was all wacky, like and swiped, if it was clearly just incompetently made, that would be funny at least. This is just competent enough to skirt by, where it looks unimaginative but not untalented.
There's no fun sets. There's no fun...
It's just the
colors.
same. Oh yeah, it's so washed out too.
The
colors are so brown and yellowy all the time. It's like
I don't think there's any sunlight in the whole movie.
It's like a nightmare.
I think it's always cloudy. It's always overcast.
It's like watching any Hollywood movie that takes place in the Middle East. It's just all like yellow and yucky. Yeah, so that's Sierra Burgess. Sierra Burgess is an irredeemable piece of shit, and I hate her. We weren't exaggerating at all. I truly hated this movie more than I hate myself. But Noah Centineo is nothing if not consistent. If only there was another app-based romantic comedy in his filmography. Oh. Wait a minute. Oh. That was wonderful.
It was great.
I had so much fun. It's a really fun movie. It's got... Maybe it's in comparison to Sierra Burgess is a loser.
It's definitely like... It's like going from a Motel 6 to like the Ritz.
Yeah, no, like the first time I saw this movie, I really didn't like it. And I can't really remember why. Like, this is perfectly fine from a cliche teen rom-com standpoint. And there are moments in this where it was legitimately a good time to watch. Like, the energy is there. The chemistry is there.
Oh, yeah.
Between Noah and Laura Morano. Yeah. They're fantastic together. I love them.
Don't tell me you've got individually wrapped Mentos and tiny little water bottles in your glove box. Oh my God, you do.
Brooks Brannigan. Brannigan?
Radigan.
Brooks Radigan. He wants to go to Yale. He wants to, be successful. But he can't afford it because he's poor, lives in a poor part of town with his dad. So he starts an app where essentially he's a stand-in. He's a date for hire.
He's basically a PG-13 prostitute, essentially.
Yes. Now they make it very clear that he does not have sex for
very
money.
Clear.
He does not have sex for money.
It is not trying to reinvent the wheel. It's just having a lot of fun with the wheel. With the whole, they're faking dating, and then he finds this girl he really likes, and they have to work around it. They both have separate love interests, but discover the love at the same time. Seen it a million times before. But it works here. It just works because the writing's solid, the characters are interesting enough.
The story wasn't, they're going to fake dating. There was more.
There's good character drama in here, even though, the resolution is, exactly where it's going.
Yeah, they're going to...
It's going to have their falling out, and it's all going to come full circle.
That'd be my one big complaint.
It's just a solid movie.
Because it has conversations that aren't just moving the story forward.
Yeah,
There's conversations that are, but they're still fun and clever and entertaining, not like other films.
From start to finish, it's just a pretty fun ride, and even though the beats are fairly predictable, you just kind of roll with it because you like these characters. The first act of this movie builds everything up to a really solid way. The montage of him doing all the different dates with, The Man by the Killers playing. Normally I'd be like, don't invoke the Killers for this, but it fits really well, and it's got that energy when he's playing that, douchebag with all the...
That was hilarious. That was genuinely,
when he's playing just with those rich parents. It's great!
Whoosh, I gotta take the Browns to the Super Bowl. And by that, I mean I gotta take a hot douche. Daddy, where the bathroom at?
That's great stuff. And he plays it so well. You can tell Noah Centineo is having such a fun time with this character and with all these different versions of himself. And he's doing his same thing where it's charm covering up insecurity, and I can't tell if it's intentional or just because he's like a weirdo, because Noah Centineo is a weirdo.
That's part of the character, though. Like, his character was insecure, so it made sense.
Yeah, and was constantly putting up a front, and like Noah Centineo's natural energy matches that so well, though. Like, this is a project where he can really shine. It's like Keanu Reeves in John Wick. It is a very specific mixture of actor and role that matches so well that you can kind of ignore all the shit work he does beside it. And you can tell it was written by adults reflecting on an aspect of teenage experience that doesn't feel preachy. Because it's reflecting on the idea of you trying to make yourself something, or thinking you have to be something instead of simply being content with what you are. And it's very rarely specifically raised in this movie. Celia has that bit with her parents where she does, but even that feels like a natural enough moment, like given her relationship with them and them trying to make her something she's not. And she doesn't have to get angry or get bitter about it. It's just a moment for that character where you realize, oh, that's the point of the movie, and it reflects Brooks's journey. It's a good movie. It's a solid movie, and I feel crazy for saying it.
So Brooks wants to go to Yale. That's his whole thing, and then they just like slowly reveal why. It's like, oh, he's insecure and like things with his mother.
Yeah,
I liked that part. The part about his mother.
Yeah,
that was good.
They
That
didn't
wasn't
need
contrived.
to keep bringing it up either. It wasn't like,
brought up once, and you got it. You understood the relationship, the dynamic.
Yeah,
it made sense. But then, why does Sierra Burgess want to go to Stanford? Never stated why.
No,
she's because I'm smart.
I mean, you could honestly take Noah Centineo and Laura Marano and make them like.
I watched them in anything.
A series of
so
rom-coms. Their chemistry's fantastic when they're just sniping at each other.
Yeah, they're quick, and it's like there's no like dead air between them.
Yeah, no, like the little moments, like the laughter and the sarcasm doesn't feel forced. Doesn't feel like these characters don't know each other well enough to do it. Like they just feel like they're on the same level, and I liked watching them together. I feel nuts for liking this movie as much as I did this time.
Dude, I genuinely enjoyed it. I would give it a 5 out of 5.
Oh,
Noahs
this
and
is
Neos.
easily. Oh yeah, preemptive ranking. This is a 5. 5 Noahs. 5 Noahs. You know, I'll say it. 6 Noahs.
6 out of 5.
6 out of 5 Noahs because it's also a good movie. That was really the energy boost we needed at this point in the day because
I was ready to give up after Sierra Burgess. I'm like, I couldn't make it. I'm like, that was horrible. It was so draining and
they were really boring for a while. And
even when this one started, we were like, oh my god, colors.
It
looks
good. No, it looks like a movie and
not like a Renaissance painting.
It looks like it was color corrected, and it looks like people bothered to take some time thinking about how the shots would look next to each other. Everything wasn't just shot handheld and Yeah, no, Perfect Date, the perfect Noah Centineo movie.
It really is.
To be honest, the best of these by far, and having seen the movie we're about to watch before, it is still the best of these. And they say Stockholm Syndrome can't manifest through movies. With only one film remaining, the time came to return to the lowest energy franchise in human history with To All the Boys, P.S. I Still Love You, which is a great and catchy title. Alright, last movie done. This is the end of the Noah Centineo marathon. This has been a long...
What a harrowing experience.
Long day. And, well, we went out with not a bang. So, To All the Boys technically has a plot... because this time around, Laura Jean turns out the object of one of her other love letters from the first film has shown back up into her life. John Ambrose McLaren, looking distinctly different than he was at the end of the first movie. He causes some friction between Peter Kavinsky and Laura Jean as they try to...
Even just hearing about it.
It's so
boring.
It's so boring. It's been a long day. It's midnight now. We've been doing this all day. I'm so tired. And this is not exactly an energetic movie to like revitalize us towards the end.
That's not a wish.
What do you mean?
It's not a wish. It's happening right now, so it can't be a wish.
The problem is, To All the Boys I've Loved Before is the most boring movie ever made, but everyone liked it. So the sequel has to also be the most boring movie ever made. Even more boring, I would say. Like, all that's really happening in this movie is Laura Jean's trying to decide, is my relationship with Peter going well, and did I like this one guy years ago more? And the answer she comes to is, yeah, I guess it's working out okay. The end. The final shot of this movie is so strange. They start kissing and they just float up. This movie, ugh.
It just goes nowhere.
It's very meandering. It's very slow. It doesn't really... There's no forward momentum at all. It's just...
You're just waiting for them to break up.
So they can get back together.
Spend the rest of it waiting to it. It's like, okay.
They spend not that long broken up, and not much.
No, it was like the last 20 minutes.
And not much comes of it. There was absolutely no reason to make this movie beyond however Netflix makes their money through subscriptions or ratings or whatever. Like, there was no reason for this movie to happen. It does not justify its own existence at all narratively. It's purely just to be like, here's more of those characters you liked because everyone watched the first movie. So in the spirit of that, it's just kind of about the characters hanging out and going through life and facing some conflict, but not much, really.
Were you with Jen today?
Yeah.
Here we go again.
Again, this is a big thing, too. Like I said in the first one, I don't get why this is the one. Why didn't The Perfect Date take off? The Perfect Date should have been To All the Boys. I mean, to be fair, Noah is still killing it in this. There's no denying that. This is still prime Noah. Like, Peter Kavinsky is... It's like Heath Ledger playing the Joker. It's exactly the same amount of quality. I mean, I would give this movie 3 out of 5 Noahs, you know?
I'd honestly give it 2.
2?
I can't give it 3.
I give it 3 because Noah's really killing it in this. Like, the best stuff in this movie comes from Noah and from Ross Butler. You know, Riverdale represent.
Go! You guys ordered za? Lincoln Park slaps.
I give it 2 because I know he can do better.
Oh, he can do better, yeah, but he's working with...
I'm not going to encourage this behavior of doing these To All the Boys sequels. Like,
he's got to work, man.
It's like, I don't support, like, you know, those bears who ride unicycles at the circus? It's like that.
It's kind of like animal abuse.
It's very much abuse.
Noah has to be finely tuned and played. Like a harp. You can't just sit down and start plucking the strings. You can't just plop a harp down as the lead of your movie. You have to know how to use it. I mean, I think I learned a lot about Noah today, if anything. Maybe not about filmmaking, but definitely a lot about Noah.
I definitely saw his journey, his arc.
Yeah, where he shines and where he was misused.
Yeah.
Like, he can't just play a dude, and he can't just play, like, a bland romantic interest. He has to play a character who's, like, hiding something. Hiding something and dynamic. He has to have layers. This is just me describing how good performances happen.
You have to have some kind of goal.
Here's an idea. Maybe actors do a better job when the character's well written. My point is, Noah Centineo can excel when he is put in the right role, and The Perfect Date is the right role. Brooks Ratigan, iconic cinematic character Brooks Ratigan, is what he should be playing.
That's his Hamlet.
That's what he should be playing every time. Noah Centineo, he fascinates me. Every new project he becomes involved in, I find that it's like a Nicolas Cage movie. Like, I find it more interesting because he's a part of it, and I want to see what he can do. And I think he has the potential to be the modern Nicolas Cage, and he's well on his way. If he ever wins an Oscar,
you heard it here first.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying there is a world in which Noah Centineo could find the right role with the right director and the right script where he would just kill it, and he should be given that chance. And Netflix, I have a few screenplays I've written. None of them are good, but I'll get there one day. And if you can give me Noah, I can mold him. Well, thank you for joining me on this journey, Brandon. I know you were a Centineo virgin, let's call it. Let's use
and now I've been properly just
Jesus Christ. And
I'm sorry. I seem to have hijacked your sentence. I hate Sierra Burgess.
I hate Sierra Burgess so much.
Honestly, Sierra Burgess drained my life force.
I feel like Sierra Burgess took...
I've aged 6 years.
Like, my hairline was bad enough already. It's going actively, watching Sierra Burgess.
I have a tumor in the shape of Shannon Purser. I'm so sorry.
So, there you have it. The Noah Centineo marathon is complete, and I feel like a shell of my former self. I haven't seen Brandon since he went to bed, and it's been several days now, so he may have died in his sleep. I hope you enjoyed this video even a fraction as much as we enjoy the cinematic output of this wonderful man, and I hope you all learned something about movies and friendship. Thanks very much for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.